When we sent out stimulus checks to save our economy, $1.6 billion went to dead people. And the checks were cashed, obviously fraud. OMB has estimated that in fiscal year 2023, we sent out $1.3 billion of checks to dead people, which were cashed, obviously fraud. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Social Security Administration. As you know, you become part of the master death file. Senator Carper and I discovered that Social Security would not share that information with any other department of government. So we passed a bill saying you have to share it with Treasury and other people who write checks, so we'll stop paying dead people. Duh. We got pushback, believe it or not, on the bill. We had to agree to a trial period, and that trial period ends in 2026. Will you help us make that program permanent so we can stop paying dead people?
Patriots, strap in. Today, we're diving headfirst into the absolute circus that Washington, D.C. has become under the so-called leadership of Joe Biden. You thought government waste was bad under Obama? You thought the deep state was bloated under Bush? Think again. Because under Joe Biden, it's not just bloated, it's obese, it's blind, and apparently, it's paying dead people. That's not hyperbole. That's not some satire from the Babylon Bee. It's a cold hard fact straight from the mouth of one of the few men in Washington who still speaks the truth, Senator John Kennedy. Let me walk you through what he said, and what we all need to do about it. Senator Kennedy sat down in a hearing with Russ Vought, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget under President Trump. Now, Vought is no lightweight. This man practically wrote the book on how to rein in Washington's spending. And right out of the gate, Kennedy drops a bomb. Since 2019, America's population went up by 2%, but our spending skyrocketed 55%. 55%. Let that sink in, folks. While the rest of us are pinching pennies, trying to stretch a gallon of gas and a bag of groceries, Washington's throwing our tax dollars around like candy at a Mardi Gras parade. And it gets worse. Kennedy points out that in the last fiscal year alone, over $1.3 billion was sent to dead people in stimulus checks. Dead people. And those checks were cashed. That means fraud. That means someone is gaming the system, and the government, your government, let it happen. Not only that, they resisted fixing it. Let me repeat that, they fought against stopping payments to corpses. Now, you might be thinking, surely that's just an oversight, right? Wrong. Kennedy and Senator Tom Carper tried to pass a bill forcing Social Security to share death data with Treasury. Makes sense, right? We've got a master death file. Use it. But the bureaucrats pushed back. They didn't want to stop sending checks to the dead. So Congress had to negotiate just to get a trial run of common sense, and even that doesn't expire until 2026. If this sounds like lunacy to you, congratulations. You still have a functioning brain. This is the kind of rot that festers when government becomes too big, too arrogant, and too insulated from we the people. Then Russ Vought steps up, and let me tell you, the man doesn't mince words. He confirms it. This level of spending is totally unsustainable. And he's right.
Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vought, welcome.
Thank you, Senator.
In my judgment, I do not know a single person in Washington or outside Washington who knows more about the federal budget than you do. I used to read your suggestions during President Trump's first term, many of which Congress ignored. We shouldn't have. I am delighted that the president picked you. I have read that since 2019, the population of America has increased 2%, and our spending has increased 55%. Under President Biden, I wish him well. If we had discovered life on Mars, he would have sent it money. Is that sustainable?
Senator, it's totally unsustainable. And the problem is that you go on these trajectories that we are currently on, and you don't know when you're going to get to the point of which you have some major problems as an economy and as a country. And we know that historically.
I hope you'll start with the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot. When we sent out stimulus checks to save our economy, $1.6 billion went to dead people. And the checks were cashed, obviously fraud. OMB has estimated that in fiscal year 2023, we sent out $1.3 billion of checks to dead people, which were cashed, obviously fraud. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Social Security Administration. As you know, you become part of the master death file. Senator Carper and I discovered that Social Security would not share that information with any other department of government. So we passed a bill saying you have to share it with Treasury and other people who write checks, so we'll stop paying dead people. Duh. We got pushback, believe it or not, on the bill. We had to agree to a trial period, and that trial period ends in 2026. Will you help us make that program permanent so we can stop paying dead people?
Yes, Senator.
Now, you served in Washington for years. You're going to be challenging the status quo. You're going to be called crazy. Many people also called Noah crazy. And then the rains came, and all the fact checkers died. You have to persevere. Now, I'm not asking you to get ahead of President Trump. But if you were king for a day, tell me how you would save money in the federal budget without impacting the American people.
Thank you, Senator. I think it's the strategy that we had in the first term, which is to go really and take a very close look at the agencies that are spending and wasting money, and I believe weaponized at times against the American people. When they put a 77-year-old Navy veteran in jail, Joe Robertson, for 18 months for building 4 ponds on his ranch to be prepared for wildfires, that's the EPA. I think we have to look at that, and we have to look at the agencies that Congress has a vote on every single year through the appropriations process. And then I think we need to go after the mandatory programs that Senator Cornyn mentioned that are keeping people out of the workforce because they have become not just a social safety net, but they have become a benefit hammock, and increasingly so in the aftermath of COVID, as many of these policies were impacting people's decisions to go back into the workforce. And I believe, and because we produced budgets along these lines, you can get sizable levels of savings and reforms that can lead to a balanced budget and get us back headed in a fiscal trajectory, not only that we would all be proud of, but we could say, this is going to keep us from fiscal ruin.
My time's expired. Ella Porter, do you have anything you'd like to add? Okay. Now's your shot. Thank you, Mr. Vogt, for your time.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good call there, young lady.
We are on a fiscal death spiral. The Democrats keep pouring gasoline on the fire, and then act shocked when the flames get out of control. Vought lays out exactly how we got here and, more importantly, how to reverse it. First, He calls out the weaponization of federal agencies. Example? The EPA. Remember Joe Robertson? An elderly Navy vet who built 4 ponds on his Montana ranch to prepare for wildfires. He didn't poison a river. He didn't pollute a city. He just dug ponds. Well, the EPA thought that was a crime. They threw this 77-year-old man in prison for 18 months. Why? Because he wanted to protect his land from burning. That's the American bureaucracy under the left. If you're a law-abiding citizen trying to take care of your property, you're a threat. If you're a dead person, they'll still write you a check. But it doesn't stop at dead people or the EPA. Vaught also drops a truth bomb about the entitlement system. He doesn't sugarcoat it. These programs have gone from safety nets to what he calls benefit hammocks. We've got a labor force in decline, and why? Because millions are being paid not to work. COVID gave the left the excuse they needed to put half the country on the government dole. And they loved it. The more people dependent on government, the more control Washington has over your life. This isn't compassion, it's control. Plain and simple. And Vaught has a plan. Not some vague, 10-year, pass it off to the next guy nonsense. He's talking agency-level reform, mandatory spending reform, and actually using the appropriations process the way our founders intended, to hold unelected bureaucrats accountable. Senator Kennedy ends with a warning, and it's one every conservative needs to tattoo on their brain. He says Vaught will be mocked, ridiculed, and called crazy. He'll be attacked by the same people who mock everyday Americans for wanting accountability. But then Kennedy drops a line that ought to be on every bumper sticker in America. Noah was called crazy. And then the rains came. And all the fact-checkers died. Let that sink in. We live in a time where speaking common sense makes you a target. If you question government spending, they call you a radical. If you want voter ID, they call you a racist. If you want to protect your land, you're a criminal. And if you want to stop sending money to dead people, the bureaucrats push back. Look, patriots. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is about our republic, our kids, our future. Joe Biden's administration has turned this country into a bloated, reckless spending machine. They're not interested in budgeting, they're interested in buying votes and growing government. And it's killing us. We need to elect leaders who aren't afraid to speak hard truths. We need to dismantle the bureaucratic machine that punishes patriots and rewards parasites. And we need to stop apologizing for wanting a country that lives within its means. Vaught and Kennedy aren't perfect, but they're trying to clean up a system built to resist cleanup. And that deserves our support. Let's raise our voices, patriots. Loud, unapologetic, and clear. Because if we don't, if we let this spending madness continue, we'll all be working for the government, or buried under its debt. This has been Founding Voice America. If you're tired of lies, waste, and liberal lunacy, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. And share this video with someone who still thinks the system works. It doesn't. But we the people still do. God bless you. God bless our founders. And God bless the United States of America. Founding Voice America, where the Constitution still speaks. Subscribe for truth. Subscribe for America.